Hi, and welcome back to our visual arts community just for teachers like you, elementary art teachers. I'm Sarah Rising, the moderator for this group, and in this episode I'm going to share one of my favorite subplans that you can use in your classroom. I envision it as you using it a couple of different ways. The first way would just be straight up presenting it to the students and they can work from the video. The second way that you could use this is presenting it to your substitute teacher, and then she in turn can watch it and present it to the class. Or you could use it to educate yourself, and then from there you can branch off and make all kinds of versions of it. So I hope you find it helpful. What I'm going to do before the presentation of the demonstration of what we would teach the kids is I'm going to share with you the presentation that I use for this. And then after this is done, you will find the link to this presentation that you can download as a Google document. Again, just remember, our mantra for substitute teaching is that you should expect nothing and be prepared for everything. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go into the presentation for this assignment called Succulent Drawings. And kids, as I've said before, kids love this. So you'll see some bits and pieces like this in the presentation. So hold tight and we'll go into that presentation. As I mentioned, this is set up as a Google slideshow, but I've also sent it out to you guys as a PowerPoint presentation. And I start by walking the kids through these directions, and then after they do all of this, and you can have them work in pencil, or you can have them work in black crayon, or you can take them straight to Sharpie if you're feeling brave. These are some handouts, and generally what I'll do and what I suggest you do is print out the slideshow. It is a short 9-pager, and you can print these two up on a page, and you can make packets to leave with the kids at each table that they share. I talk to them about thinking about these succulent plants as simple shapes. So if you look at these, you can review that they are organic shapes. They're made up of various organic shapes and all kinds of lines. So have them become observers, looking closely at how those shapes come together to create the image of the succulent plants. I also talk to them a little bit about the colors used in these, but remind them that we're going to try to get a little more form in our colors as opposed to being so flat. I also like to show them some real-life photographs and maybe take the time to look at all of the different varieties of the succulents and notice how many colors make up each little leaf. So noticing the pinks and noticing the greens and the reds that are all put together in just one tiny little leaf. And we're going to remind them those are the things that we're trying to convey today. We're trying to convey that feeling of texture as well as that unique color that makes succulents as beautiful as they are. So this has been printed out, and again, you can share this with the kids at the tables and just talk to them about how the plants are arranged in a pleasing way in the gardens, that they do have a vessel or a pot, and then also point out, especially in this picture, you can see that there's a wall behind the plants and the tabletop there. So we'll be also considering that when we create our designs. Then I like to spend a little time talking to them about color. I recommend that you do this with colored pencils or with crayon. And if you're lucky enough to have some of the construction paper crayons or the Crayola color sticks, they're light colored pencils, these look amazing on black paper. You're just going to have to test how your crayons show up on the darker papers, but really the construction paper crayons and the Crayola color sticks do look best on the darker papers. This is a video, and if you click on it, it can take you to a site and you can review that video. You can show it to the children. I like to include these two pictures. This picture here is a great example. It shows what the artist used, these 6 colors that they used to create this little plant here, and also the artistic interpretation. It doesn't always have to look, and they can see it's not exactly like the image, but it still has that variety, that texture. You can sense the softness of the leaves, and you get that variety of color, form, and value in that picture. So that's really it as far as the presentation goes. And again, you can print those out into pages to share with the students, share them with your substitute teacher, and then also use it for yourself. Next, we'll go into the demonstration of how you would teach this lesson. Hey everyone, I'm back with the demonstration for the succulent garden. As I mentioned in the first part of the video, I asked you guys to have the slideshow printed out. So you can see what I did is I printed it on 2 sides of each page. So I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 pages, which came out to 5 pages printed. I think it's really helpful for the kids to have these at the table. And if you can't get them in color, that's okay. Print them out in black and white, just as long as each table has a packet or 2. Staple them together and use that. So what I like to do, and I'm just going to work with this next to me. I'm going to work in Sharpie just because it's easy to see. So the first thing that you want to convince the kids to do is get their name on their paper and turn that paper over and get started. Talk to them about the horizon line. So figure about halfway through the page, we're going to add the pot. And the pot can be a variety of shapes. It can be a tapered shape, it can be rounded, it can be rectangular. Do spend some time thinking about the size pot that you want to use. And you're going to start with the lip. So I'm going to start with a horizontal line, and I'm going to double that. So I'm going to draw a set of parallel lines. And then my pot on my plant is going to be an oval shape. So I'm going to draw the base down here, and then I'm just going to come out to the sides and connect those shapes. And then I'm going to finish that with a line that indicates my tabletop and my wall. That way we're working with space. We don't have our pot just sitting and floating nowhere. All right, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to start to fill your plants. And in this image, it shows one drawn over here, another kind over here, overlapping them, making sure they look like they are in front of and behind each other. Now, what I like to do is take a close look at some of these real succulents and compare them to the drawings. So when we look at, for example, we've got this little guy right here, which appears like this. And it's really easy if you think about the succulents not as these intricate plants, but think of them as shapes. So if I look at this, I see a whole series of teardrop shapes connected to a line, which you can see right there. And then when we're doing the plants with the little spiky leaves, it is just a simple series of repeated shapes drawn over and over. These happen to be pointy at the top. These over here are a little shorter. We can look at this drawing here, and we can see we've got this kind of a rose shape as if we're looking at it straight on. And some of the pots in your plant may look like they are facing you head on like this, or your point of view might be from the outside looking at them away. So you could be looking down on them, or you could be looking at them from away. So that's what you've got to think about as well. All right, so the fun part starts when we get ready to draw these. I like to keep this as a reference, but boys and girls, I prefer that we're looking and observing the real things and getting a close look at what we see in there. So Let's say I'm going to start with this little star-shaped plant. I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out, and I'm going to have him coming off to the side. So he's got some pieces. I keep calling it he like it's real. And I'm going to point my finger at what I see and then what I'm drawing. So it's almost a shape like this. Then this comes over and it's flat across the middle and then rounds out. And then it starts to point out, point out, point out. And it goes in this radial pattern. That means it's going around and around. And I can have my leaf look like it's coming out of the pot. That makes it very interesting. And I can keep growing it and let it get a little bit larger and larger as I go out and around. It's not symmetrical though. All right, so looking at some other pictures, I like these over here, and they remind me of having a little squiggle and then having this shape that keeps coming out, sorry about that, that keeps coming out over and over and over again. And they're clusters of those tiny leafed plants that kind of come out into almost like a starburst kind of shape. And you really can't go wrong in this. There's no one standing in the corner ready to pounce out at you and tell you you're doing it wrong. Just really observe and have fun with it. And if you come up with a new variety of plant, well, that'd be great too. It doesn't have to be exactly what you see in the picture. Let your imagination kind of take over. All right, I'm going to look at some other pictures. I like these for the height. So I'm simply going to add some lines coming out. And I'm also going to overlap those because I want to be able to demonstrate that I understand how to draw depth. That is, when things are overlapping and in front of and behind each other. So if your eye follows this, it can see that. Then you can go in and add the tiny little leaves that make up each of the branches on that little plant right there. So I'll just get that one out of the way and finish that. Now I'm not going to sit here and draw every single plant in my pot for you because that wouldn't be very exciting. But before I go, one thing that you also want to consider is the texture of your pot. Is it a wood grain pot? Would it look like it is made out of wood? Is it a pot that has ridges and bumps? How will you show texture in your pot? Maybe it has a zigzag pattern. You decide what you want to do with that. And then we'll come back in the second part of this video and we'll talk about how we're going to color these. All right, have fun. All right, so as you can see, I've filled my container with lots of variety, different shapes and things spilling out and over. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the unique coloring of these succulents. When we look closely, we can see that there are multiple colors. Even though the plants may look similar, each leaf can contain 2, 3, even 4 different colors within it. This one down here, the little leaves start in the middle as green, but then they end up with some red on the edge. If you look closely at this, you'll see it has that silvery green, yet a little dark purple inside that part. When we look at these are a silvery, purpley, bluish green, as are these, but a little more blue-green. So you need to be a color detective and look closely at these colors. And remember, when you get ready to work on these, pay attention to how you can show your viewers all of the variety of colors in here. They're just so beautiful. Now, at this point, your teacher may have shown you a video about how to do this, but if you didn't see the video, that's okay. We're going to be using colored pencil and crayon, and there are a couple of different ways that you can create some unique effects with those colored pencils. You can use cross-hatching, you can use multiple colors in the same spot. When you look at a picture like this, you can see that this artist used these 6 colors to create this image. I know it seems really difficult, but really have fun with it, and I think you'll be surprised at the level of talent that you have with this. This example I like to share with you guys because you can see while these two don't look alike, the artist took the opportunity to color in their own interpretation of the color, and that's perfectly acceptable. You can change out those colors entirely. They don't have to be realistic. If you want to have a rainbow cactus, then have a rainbow cactus. But what you're going to do, and I'm just going to show you a little snippet. If I'm working on this plant right here, I'm going to start off with 3 colors. I'm going to start with my lightest color first. And on this leaf, I'm going to start down here with some green, a yellow, sorry about that. And I'm not coloring the whole leaf. The idea here is to try to convince your viewer that these are realistic succulents. And so I'm letting these colors kind of come together. And while they won't blend like a chalk or a pastel, as long as we're coloring lightly and then just slowly, slowly, slowly building up the color. Notice that I'm not setting down the color and going straight to a dark, dark, dark blue. I'm going to come in now with this light blue, and I'm going to kind of merge those together so you won't be able to tell super easily where one color stops and the other color begins. And notice I'm not just doing this. Let me demonstrate on this one. I'm not just going in there and coloring it one color and calling it done. I mean, we could do that, but where's the fun in that, right? What you want to do is get in there with your 2 or 3 colors. Watch this. I'm going to show you something a little crazy. I've colored it blue and green, but getting in there a little bit on the tip with that pink. And then again, blending it in so it's hard to tell where one color started and the other stopped. So have fun with this. Take your time. There is no prize for being the first one done. And just enjoy creating your succulent garden with all the colors of your imagination. Remember to get in here and color your pot. It doesn't have to be like this. And if you go in and do your background, one quick tip, you can get your background done very easily if you turn your colored pencil or your crayon onto the side and then just lightly get in there and you can create your background pretty easily. And then remember, the last thing that you want to do when you finish your art is sign your artwork in your name and then write the year that you made it so everyone can treasure it. I hope you enjoy this project and cannot wait to see what you do with it. See you. All right, well, that's it for this presentation and demonstration combo. There is no discussion question at the end of this. We are going to continue to use the question we posed on the first video, which is in the discussion. If you wouldn't mind sharing out some of the videos, some of the lessons that you like to use for subplants. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you come back for the second video. See you later.